Man, my upload schedule is horrible, huh? I really gotta fix this up and start uploading way more. If someone says they play on EUS, chances are you're not gonna think much of it. And it would probably be the same scenario if you heard someone say that they play on NA, or Brazil, or even OC. Now what if you heard someone say that they play on EUNE? Well, a very large part of the League community would react like this. Now the larger question is why? Why would people react to finding out that someone plays EUNE like this? Why would they basically instantly laugh or try to make fun of that person? That's why I'm making this video, to basically answer this question, but also to just kind of rant a bit and share my thoughts on the topic, because I wanted to do this for a while. So since the beginning of the season, I basically challenged myself to go for the most accounts in Challenger a single player can own at once. And I think I managed to do it. Right now, the previous record was 5 accounts, from what I found, and I managed to get 6 at once. And then also have an extra Grandmaster account. And I'm very happy with myself. I decided to share this accomplishment with the League community, and to say that the reaction was mixed would be a massive, massive understatement. You obviously had a ton of people saying that I had way too much free time on my hands and that I was unemployed and, you know, let's see how many jobs you can find instead, which fair enough, you know, grinding out that many accounts is insane. But in this case, I'm in a very fortunate position because I can make my living off of League. So yeah, technically I am unemployed, but not really, because this is kind of my job. I didn't really mind it that much. That specifically wasn't that big of a deal for me. What I disliked more was the fact that there were people saying that because I did it on EUNE, it doesn't matter. And that's what ticked me off. And that particular reaction is what made me make this video. I'm not gonna sit here and say that getting 6 accounts in Challenger at once in EUNE is the same as doing it on EUS, because that is simply untrue. I'm not upset about the fact that people say and think it's easier to climb on EUNE than it is on EUS, because that's just straight up a fact. It's just true. Starting from like Master, Grandmaster, you will see a difference in skill. And that's not a surprise. EUS has way more players and a lot of known streamers and pros who want to constantly climb to the highest level and push the limits of the game. And I get that. I didn't play against these guys in the challenge, obviously, because I was on EUNE. And again, I'd be delusional to say that it is the same thing, because it just isn't. I'm simply of the opinion that it's still a massive achievement and a big accomplishment. And for a lot of people to just disregard it because it's EUNE feels incredibly saddening. I streamed almost the entire challenge, spamming games since the day 1 of the season for God knows how many hours a day. And a lot of people watching me actually did support it and didn't even care about the region. But man, the amount of people coming into the chat for the first time and asking what region, and then instantly dipping the nanosecond I say EUNE was insane. Which I get it, it's not as high of a rank, or rather not as high of a skill ceiling. So I get it. Last season, I literally went to EUS to get Challenger just because people said I couldn't. And I streamed that climb as well. And I kid you not, I had someone in chat type, "You don't have to lie about the region you play," likely alluding to the fact that I was actually on EUNE and pretending to play on EUS. Like, what? What do you mean? I'm guessing they thought I was playing on EUNE because the account name was the same, but you know, a simple Google search would show you that the account was indeed on EUS. And even once I achieved Challenger, people still gave me shit for it. You can literally see on the screen that it says Challenger, and I've had people say that I didn't get Challenger. I think the simple answer to the question as to why people love to hate on EUNE is simply due to the fact that it is a weaker region and it's not as good as EUS. But to me, that never made a lot of sense. If you were to apply that logic to every server in the world, you're basically saying that only like 3 servers are actually worth playing on, and anyone else who tries to get high rank on any other server is wasting their time. And that just kind of sounds wrong. Take the Middle Eastern server. A while back, Alois, Tyler1, and Baus went to the Middle East to get rank 1 on that server. And I'm certain that the challenge was taken somewhat seriously. I mean, come on, they're trying for rank 1, you know? Why wouldn't it? Now that's great and all. Solid, good stuff from them. The only issue here though is that the entire region of Middle East has 5 times less players than Iron EUNE. and you can see it on the screen. This isn't like edited or anything. You can go on OPGG and see the exact numbers of people playing ranked right now. But even though there's very little players on that server, it's still a notable achievement to go for rank 1, is it not? These guys are really good and they try to compete for it, just, you know, to go for rank 1, to see which one gets there first. I'm also sure that the reputation of the Middle East server is much better than the one on EUNE, simply due to the fact that this challenge took place over there with known figures like Tyler1, Baus, and Alois. They're very known in the community. Whenever I asked anyone about the Middle Eastern server, they usually had to say either that they didn't know it existed, which fair enough, it's a much newer server, which could also explain why it has such few players, or they said that they knew about it because of the challenge that was done long ago. No one really said that the server was particularly toxic or that it was an easy server. And again, that could just be due to the fact that it's a newer server and opinions are still being formed on it. But I think the point still stands. Even the Turkish server, where they literally held TF Blade hostage in a challenger game, doesn't have that bad of a reputation. And a solid amount of people play on that server. I could be wrong though on this. Maybe this isn't correct, but I do not see Turkey getting shit on as much as EUNE. You'd also think that EUNE itself would be a small server, considering how much shit it gets. But it is quite literally the 4th largest server out there. The order is Korea and China, and then there's EU West, and then EUNE. I don't know how many people know this, but the EUNE server is larger than the North American one, at least in ranked. Maybe if you account for the people playing normals, NA becomes larger, but the people playing ranked, you have more players on EUNE. Now, does that mean it's better than NA?
Absolutely not.
It simply cannot be. NA has pros and streamers who actually try to win, while EUNE has basically nothing. There's also just way more people who tend to play out games in EUNE far worse compared to other regions. If someone starts feeding on EUNE, they will get like somewhat soft flamed and not much else. You do get some people going sicko mode in chat and like hyper mega uber flaming, but people don't really get into it. It's never super extreme. And the person who receives the hate usually has to say something like, well, actually, I don't care about this game because my main is on EU West, so I am just for funning. I'm not actually getting gapped, I am simply playing for fun, so I got you there. And if enough people have this mentality when they play out the games, then obviously the game quality drops even further. Also, just to flat out compare how you get insulted on EUNE and EU West is just... man. As I've said before, if you feed on EUNE, chances are you won't get flamed too hard. And it's nothing extreme most of the time. They just kind of laugh at you and say, haha, you suck, and that's about it. But God forbid you feed on EU West. They will give you a list of why your life is meaningless and your existence on this planet makes everyone's days worse just because you got outroamed as a mid laner one single time. You're basically getting the low tier god speech every single time, or almost every single time you have a bad game, without fail.
Your life is nothing. You serve zero purpose.
And I can confidently say this is the case because I have now played both servers all the way to Challenger and experienced both types of flame. And EU West is way, way worse. I'd say it's mostly because people care more about winning on EU West than EUNE, and it's more competitive and people want to just win more, but that doesn't make it okay. There are streamers out there who play on EUNE as well, but mostly stick to EU West, and they say it's easier to climb on EUNE. And again, this does make sense. Again, this isn't a point I'm trying to dispute. It's just that a lot of people look down on it as if it's the worst thing you can do. Like, how dare you think getting Challenger on EUNE is worth a goddamn thing? DesperateNasus is a streamer who plays both regions, and whenever he places any achievement, like a screenshot of an achievement he does on EUNE, like top 10 or some high LP count, a lot of people just look at it and go, well, it's EUNE, so it doesn't matter. He posted this right here, and it was from EUNE. Can you guess what the comments on the tweet said? What people might not know though is that he's basically the best KO player in the world and one of the best Nasus players in the world, and has managed to hit both top 10 on EU West and have multiple accounts in Challenger at the same time, also on EU West, while playing just these two champions. And that is insanely impressive. But hey, if it's EUNE, it doesn't mean anything, right? Another player who's kind of in the same situation is Major Alexander, who's the best Samira player in the world. He's another player who plays both servers, and I'm sure he gets shit for playing EUNE. even though he had multiple accounts in EUS Challenger at the same time. By the way, just so you guys know, I am going to link every person that I'm going to talk about here previously and as the video goes on. So if you want to check them out for yourselves, I'll put their socials in the description and you can check out their YouTube if they have it, or Twitch, or some other socials that I find. Specifically though, DesperateNasus and Major Alexander, you should definitely give a watch if you want to see super high elo gameplay, because they are really good at the game. Let's take another server. How about OCE? It's a pretty small server, and sure, people like to joke about OCE, but they don't really laugh at it as much as they laugh with it. It's kind of like the rivalry between NA and EU. It's harmless banter. You're not really supposed to take it seriously. Obviously, you're gonna have people who will actually flame, but I don't really think that's the norm in this case. That is the exception. If EU West and NA laugh alongside each other, making jokes and jabs at one another, just, you know, to be funny, EUNE gets an absolute beatdown from every single region every time EUNE comes up in a conversation. And that just doesn't seem fair, man. For such a small region, OCE has some great players. Take Slogdog, who's the Yorick one trick, who got Challenger on NA with 200 ping. And people didn't belittle the achievement by saying it's just NA. Even when there was a post where it showed the Challenger OCE account, there was no one making fun of it because it was Challenger on OCE. They just basically said congratulations, and that was it. No real flame. And that's good. That's how it's supposed to be. I don't know if you guys remember as well, but there was a compilation made with Slogdog Yorick in EU West when streamers were getting one-tapped when Prowler's Claw was in the game, and it was actually really funny and really cool to see. And then there was a Korea bootcamp going all the way to Challenger as well, which was some good stuff. In this situation, you can say that it wasn't just OCE and it was multiple regions that were being played and it just started on OCE, but that's the point. It started over there and people didn't make fun of it because of that. Sure, there was branching out, but even if it was to just stay on OCE, I think people would be more accepting of it, like way more accepting of it. Another high elo OCE player that had like a pretty significant impact to some extent was Tilterella. In case you guys don't know who he is, Tilterella is a Challenger OCE player who plays a ton of Scion. And I actually used to watch his videos a few years back, and the reason I picked Scion for a while was mostly due to the videos that I saw from him. He would do stuff like die to the enemy raptors level 1, or execute the turret and then steal the enemy buff, or maybe kill them on the buff, or maybe do even both. And recently he came up with the strategy of like double jungling, or he played some Scion support. During that period, he even made compilations of his games in OCE while going up to Challenger, and people just didn't make fun of it. They congratulated him. And again, that's how it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be something that you make fun of. Pretty recently, he actually went to Korea and got Master over there, but I'm pretty sure he could have climbed even higher if he stayed there for longer, because he stayed, if I remember correctly, for 2 weeks and didn't even play the 2 weeks because there were some issues. And right now he's grinding out the OCE ladder once more, and that's great. Good on him, honestly. OCE has almost 100,000 players, and despite that, despite being quite a low number, a lot of people still try and still put in effort, and they don't get made fun of as much, or if they do it in a banter, in a manner that's not negative. Whereas whenever you talk about EUNE, you get reminded constantly how garbage your region is and that your opinion doesn't matter because you play EUNE. Perhaps I am just being overly negative on the matter, but I have seen it time and time again. Whenever EUNE is brought up, everyone laughs and scoffs at the idea of someone playing on that region seriously, and to some extent it really hurts. Anyways, that was my whole rant, I guess. I don't want it to come off as too negative. I just wanted to shed some light on this, and I basically wanted to just say that I think people should ease up on EUNE and not make so much fun of it, but we never know how everything's gonna develop, so maybe in the future something does change. There have been a ton of people who congratulated me on this achievement, and I'm very grateful for it, and I thank them very much because it's very nice and very cool to see the support that's been going out. Obviously the hate isn't as nice to receive, but you will get criticism no matter what. But probably the most insane thing about the challenge was that I had fun during it. And I don't mean this type of fun, I mean genuine fun, like having actual fun where I didn't hate my life for just playing for 80 to 90% of the run, because obviously there were days when I had pretty big loss streaks and I didn't really like it, or there were a ton of matchups that I just hated playing, like going up against the Veristop or a Vayne or an Aurora, and obviously those weren't the most exciting, but even in those, I've had moments within the games where it was actually quite fun and enjoyable. Right now though, I'm pretty burned out on League, but I was expecting this because of how many accounts I grinded and how many games I spammed every single day. But it's not as bad as I thought it would be. I could probably make an entire video just about this topic and how to actually have fun with League in a non-ironic way. Or at least how I've had true fun so far for almost the entire time I've been playing this game. Ideally, I don't wait around like another half a year to make another video. That would be very cool of me. I will try to make more videos and make more stuff for you guys on the YouTube, more content, and actually get a good upload schedule in. To anyone who's stuck with the video so far, all the way to the end, I just want to say thank you, and I hope that this video can change some people's perspective or open up some type of conversation, and maybe something changes. If you want to catch me streaming, I stream at twitch.tv/federals123. Right now, I don't stream as much because I kind of want to mostly work on other stuff like guides or matchup spreadsheets, because I do those as well. But in the near future, I will start to stream again, though obviously for not as long. During the challenge, I would basically stream almost every waking moment to get it done as soon as possible, but I'll cut back on that, and then I'll have more time for videos, editing, you know, other stuff, guides, all that jazz. But with all that being said, thank you guys for joining me in this video, and I will see you guys in the next video, hopefully very soon.